with a case history. A 53-year-old female presented with an increased menstrual bleeding. She had attained menopause 2 years back, but still had come back to the doctor with bleeding. The gynecologist asked for a cervical smear to be done. The pathologist saw the picture under the microscope and this was the slide. I hope you people will be able to decipher something. What is your diagnosis? Discuss the etiopathogenesis, morphology, microscopy, and staging of this disease. Add a note on the laboratory diagnosis. And such might be the specimen that can be given to us on a chart or we can see in a text. In this, I say that it is a uterus with the uterine wall, endometrium, and the cervix is almost replaced by a large ulceroproliferative growth. And on both sides, I find that the fallopian tubes and ovaries are there. It is by this that you people are supposed to identify a uterus. The diagnosis obviously is cancer cervix. And these are the patterns of questions and the subjects involved. I would advise you people to regularly visit the game channel in which you can unfurl a lot of treasures. The introduction. It is one of the most common malignancies, second most common cause of death in the female. Though it is on the decline, it is still common in countries like India. In the uterus, there is something called the transformation zone, particularly in the cervix. So this is a picture of the uterus, the fundus of the uterus, the ostia of the fallopian tubes. This is the endometrial cavity, lining endometrium, and here is what we call the endocervical canal. There is an internal os and an external os. And external to that is the vagina. This is something that we people should remember. And look at this green line over here. This indicates what is called the transformation zone. The importance of it shall be given repeatedly. The courtesy for this picture is Teach Me Anatomy. I would like you people to kindly visit this site, worth it. Etiopathogenesis. This question as such can be asked as an essay and hence it will always be broken into structures. What can be the etiopathogenesis? It is multifactorial. One of the most common causes human papillomavirus, and there are different strains of these 16, 18, 31, 33, 35. These are indicative of malignancy. Particularly 16 and 18 we shall remember. Early marriage, frequent intercourse, multiple sexual partners, strangely cigarette smoking because of polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons are all predisposing to cervical cancer. Poor hygiene, and in the male there is no circumcision. Oral contraceptive intake. These all can also predispose to cervical cancer. And this is just an ideological picture. The cancer is caused by multiple causes that are mentioned over here for a quick recapitulation. HPV virus, smoking, early marriage, multiple sexual partners, oral contraceptives, low immune system, and postponement of the childbirth, unprotected sex, and multiple sexual partners. All these can predispose to cervical cancer. This is a very important question, dysplasia and carcinoma in situ. These can be independently asked as a short note in the YOOC or form parts of essays. This is a low-grade squamous intraepithelial lesion, LSIL. And this is high-grade squamous intraepithelial lesion. The older terminology is carcinoma in situ or cervical intraepithelial neoplasm, grade 1, grade 2, grade 3. And this is supposed to be mild, moderate, severe. Now, what is the abnormality over here? I find that this is a stratified squamous epithelium, multiple layers are there. The lower 1/3, I am finding some cells with dark nuclei. They are irregularly getting piled up. Lower 1/3. So it is mild. When it extends up to the middle 2/3. So lower 1/3 is involved and the middle 2/3. So when it is extending up to that region, it is moderate. When almost the entire thickness, I used to call it as 3/3, barring the uppermost layer, it is called as severe dysplasia. And when the entire thickness is involved, it is called carcinoma in situ. So mild, moderate, severe dysplasia, carcinoma in situ. And dysplasia itself is a question for you in neoplasia. Remember these things. Loss of polarity. Polarity means relationship of one cell to another. Pleomorphism of the cell, nuclear pleomorphism, hyperchromaticity, irregular nuclei, increased mitosis. And these are the gradings that I have mentioned. Less than 1/3, less than 2/3, less than 3/3. Illogical, but good. When it involves a full thickness, it is carcinoma in situ. This is followed by microinvasion and then frank malignancy. Repeating it in another way, here I am finding the dysplastic cells 1/3, dysplastic cells 2/3, and dysplastic cells almost 3/3, barring the uppermost layer. Here the entire thickness is involved. This is followed by microinvasion. See, the cells are seeping below the basement membrane. So this is intraepithelial lesion, carcinoma in situ, and microinvasion. The thirds are given over here, by heart them. Repetition is the mother of knowledge. Cervical intraepithelial neoplasia is again explained by means of a schematic diagram. This one is simple enough for us to draw and score the marks. Time permits, you may draw this. So coming to the transformation zone we had been talking about earlier. So this is the endocervical canal, internal os, external os. And this is lined by columnar epithelium, which we call as endocervix. Externally, it is lined by squamous epithelium. And it is this junction, transformation zone, squamo-columnar junction we used to call, that is prone for dysplasia and malignancy. So we shall remember this. Kindly follow this particular set of slides carefully because HPV by itself is a university question. The malignant types are 16 and 18, most common. 31, 33, 35 also can cause malignancy. The low risk ones are 6, 11, 42 and 44. They can cause what is called as papilloma or condyloma. So there is no malignancy in this case. They may ask you what are the strains that cause malignant neoplasm. Sexual transmission occurs in the transformation zone, can be predisposed by cervical intraepithelial neoplasm. Fine. These things we shall by heart. The human papilloma virus DNA is covalently integrated with the host genome. With the host genome, it gets integrated. In this, you find that the gene E6 protein of human papilloma virus is bound to the tumor suppressor gene. Tumor suppressor gene, actually it prevents tumor. But since it is bound, it inactivates or digests the P53. This is followed by E7. E6 followed by E7 destroys the P53 and the retinoblastoma gene, another protective gene. Therefore, the normal cell cycle is affected and the regulation is lost, cancer is caused. So please by heart this one. It is worth, because you can get a question on human papilloma virus in your paper 1 itself. The structure of the virus, and these are the strains, and what are the strains causing invasive cancer. Metaplasia, another university question, a short note. It has been dealt with in detail in some of my first classes, and always I say, go to game for fame, because I would have dealt all this in detail. Very easily you people can score marks in short notes. So more common in the transformation zone, look at the structure. This is called the basement membrane. The brown one is the basement membrane, and above that there is what is called the reserve cells or the basal cells. They can differentiate or grow into the columnar cells or the squamous cells. Normally in the endocervix, you have got the tall columnar cells, and they can be, whenever there is a chronic irritation or infection, be replaced by the squamous cells. The purpose of metaplasia is, the definition itself is replacement of one adult type of cell by another due to varied differentiation. Columnar epithelium is being replaced by squamous epithelium because of varied differentiation from the basal layer. So you will have to explain. There are the other causes for metaplasia and all. Go to my earlier class. Coming to the gross and microscopic picture. Gross itself, 3 words we shall always remember: proliferating, ulcerating, ulceroproliferative. Proliferative, ulcerative, ulceroproliferative. So in this case, there is an ulcer, but it is not small. It has also proliferated. I would like to call this an ulceroproliferative lesion. And coming to the histology, there can be a squamous cell carcinoma, adenocarcinoma, adenosquamous carcinoma, and undifferentiated carcinoma. Squamous cell carcinoma, adenocarcinoma, combine both, adenosquamous, undifferentiated. There are lots of other tumors, but basically we shall remember this. This is a beautiful picture. You can practice drawing this. So the cervix over here, the fundus, and there is a growth that is infiltrating into the vaginal canal. What are the histological types? Basically, a few words we people should write. So squamous cell carcinoma. Generally, we know that the squamous cell carcinoma is keratinizing. There is keratin or epithelial pearl. There is another variant called non-keratinizing. Keratinizing and non-keratinizing. It is a large cell basically. Therefore, the opposite is small cell carcinoma. The other counterpart is the adenocarcinoma, which can have the following histological subtypes. This one I would advise you people to kindly by heart, because lots of other variants are there, but we shall remember only this: papillary, clear cell, signet ring cell, endocervical. As I mentioned earlier, there can be combination. So kindly by heart this particular. Coming to the description of the slides. So this is a squamous cell carcinoma and adenocarcinoma. Basic classification that I mentioned in the previous slide, you people should know. Here I am finding large polygonal cells. This is all the nucleus. Rest of the pale pink color is cytoplasm. They are all arranged in nest. Nest means a group of cells. So this is one nest, another large nest, and this is also over there. And sometimes they become concentrically arranged each other, which is called a pearl. I described this very beautifully in the game. Kindly go back. Squamous cell carcinoma is a university exam slide for you people. So with this picture, we can identify points are given well in game. Go to game for fame. Adenocarcinoma. There is a lumen around which the cells are arranged. Tall columnar cells, irregular lumen that is there. So this is a glandular tumor, very clear, adenocarcinoma. And this is a muscle which is being infiltrated. So look at this ribbon-like elongated cells. They are the muscle cells which are being infiltrated by the tumor. What are the modes of spread of the tumor? Basic anatomy. In pathology, you need not know perfect anatomy, but somewhat basic. Similarly, in surgery, you need to know things perfectly. In pathology, at least, where what is. So here, this is a sagittal section, very informative. We have got the bladder, we have got the uterus, cervix, and the vaginal canal. Behind is the rectum and the anal canal. And posterior to the uterus is the pouch of Douglas. So this particular sagittal section we shall bear in mind. Coming to the spread of cervical cancer. Any tumor, there are different routes of spread. All of you know that it is an essay question for us. The routes are direct spread, lymphatic spread, hematogenous spread, spread across body cavities, perineural spread. In this case, a direct spread will involve the vagina or endometrium. Sometimes it can spread across to the ovaries. The lymphatic spread usually involves a group of nodes called the paracervical nodes, the obturator nodes, external iliac, common iliac, and the para-aortic group of nodes. So this is the lymphatic spread. This is important because the staging and the treatment will be based on this. Hematogenous, that is the blood spread. The most common organs to be affected are LLB. Always remember LLB. Lung and liver, because they have got a double circulation. So profusely rich in vascular supply. Bone, that is one organ that is disastrous because it will directly take us to stage 4. LLB, please remember. The poor prognosis is in the case of an advanced stage of disease, metastasis, or a small cell variant. So this is common sense for us. What are the screening tests? Exfoliative cytology. Study the vaginal smear. Pap smear, a cervical smear also can be taken. Test for human papilloma virus. This is one. And incidentally, these are a couple of mails that you people see. And behind me is a book called Tips, Topics in Pathology for Students, intended for undergraduate students, mainly general pathology. It is not systemic pathology or hematology. General pathology has been concisely presented, having the reduced curriculum in mind for BDS and MBBS students. What is the staging of the cervical cancer? So there can be stage 0 up to stage 4. Stage 0 means it is easy, confined to the cervix, almost in situ. Stage 1, again to the cervix alone, but does not grow beyond. See, it does not involving the vagina or any other region. Stage 2, on the contrary, it can go to the parametrium. Parametrium means adjoining the uterus and the upper 1/3 or 2/3 of the vagina. So this is the stage 2. Stage 3, the cancer extends into the pelvic wall. So here, all the ligaments are involved and it is almost going to the iliac bone. And stage 4, beyond the pelvis. So here it is going into the rectum and anal canal, or sometimes to the pouch of Douglas and into the peritoneum. So these things we shall remember. A shortcut is in situ within the cervix, 4 into the pelvis, 2 and 3 via media. The pap smear by itself is a question, and I have been dealing with it in general pathology as well as in game. Always, as I tell you people, go to game for fame. This is a procedure. You find that there is a dilatation of the vaginal canal and there is a spatula. Spatula means just a stick, which is having a shape like this because the cervix is shaped so. So using this, they will be able to get a sample at the ectoendocervical junction. the area where an early malignancy can occur, and a smear is made. Another method of getting the cytology is using a brush. By this brush, they whirl it and then they obtain the samples from all directions, all sides. So this is brush cytology. This is Ayer's spatula, A-Y-R-E apostrophe S. And a smear is made, fixed in alcohol, studied for malignancy. Look at this smear over here. I find that the cells are all pleomorphic. Pleomorphic means varying sizes and shape. This cell is a little bland. This is somewhat terrifying. Large nucleus, irregular, multiple nuclei, and the cell is shaped like a tadpole. It is called a tadpole cell itself. So this is definitely diagnostic of malignancy. This is a brush cytology, and they are spinning it into the suspended fluid for a case of fixation. And these are the various symptoms. You people can go through it. There can be increased bleeding, bleeding between the menstrual periods, after menopause, and history of multiple sexual partners, so on and so forth. There will be pain during urination. Sometimes there can be a foul smelling discharge. These are all some of the histories that the patient will give us. The same thing are given over here. Back pain is another symptom to be borne in mind. And there's a beautiful diagram. Thanks to JP, I would like you people to kindly draw this. A tadpole cell, a near normal cell. And these are somewhat malignant cells with larger nucleus. So a squamous cell carcinoma of the cervix. So Mediglobus courtesy, a picture that you people can draw if you wish so. So coming to the summary of it, you people will have to think of the subheadings. The subheadings will take you to the answer. Etiology, classification, metaplasia, dysplasia, CAS. All of these can be questions by themselves. Pap smear is a question, and the entire thing can be an essay question for you. Not very difficult, but a question that students usually omit. The question that we omit is our university question. And this incidentally is the book I had been talking about, TIPS, Topics in Pathology for Students. This is mainly general pathology, and if any student is interested, they can contact the couple of mails that are given below. Bienvenue.